You hear me there, right? Loud and clear?
The virus.
Yeah, I can hear.
Yeah, it's been a while. Hi, Cindy, there, right? It's been a while there, right? Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. How long is it there, right? Okay? After our last first semester classes?
Should be the line
I
in
think
weekend.
for 3 semesters.
The first semesters. When is it?
Same
May.
school we meet you.
May 2019.
19.
Is it? Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. I guess there, okay, you guys have been prepared well there, okay, for the illustration skills here. Because it's been a while there, okay, that you guys have been developed your skill, okay, in time, okay, since 2019, right? And now, here we are again, okay, in digital online classes. Hey, how's your life going there, okay? How's your lives, your studies life going there, okay? Within this pandemic kind of times, how is it?
Not much different.
Yeah. Oh, that means you guys can cope up with the lesson, is it?
For me, yeah.
How about the rest of you guys? Do you have any kind of difficulties basically to cope with your lessons? But you guys were senior right now, right? Next semesters are going to be a final year, or this semester going to be final year?
This semester will be the final year.
Is it the right? Oh. Right. So that's why when I have some requests with one of the requests with from Miss Yashi directly about your guys kind of assignments, I kind of doesn't know basically the clear ideas of what you guys are going to be developed for your final year there, okay? But the thing that I've been planned basically for the rest of 2 weeks, okay, when I get that kind of call from Miss Yashi about your FYP projects, that hopefully, if you guys can look back again, what I actually have been planned for you guys, hopefully can be in line together with what you're going to be work with your assignments. I don't know that, right? Okay, but you guys have to. That's why these sessions basically today, I need to discuss with you guys. Okay, it doesn't mean that I'm going to change the record. I don't know the record, but if you can inline them back, it's good. But if you can't, okay, you have to talk to me, okay, because I don't want you guys to jeopardize basically your assignments, or you're going to be not focus on your assignments within this kind of subjects directly, these digital illustration subjects, because you have to work more on your final year project directly, kind of what we call that process of working there. All right, those are the things that I not worried, but I hopefully you guys can cope up, right? But you have to discuss with me, right? Because those are the things has to be method, right? Whatever that you guys have been planning, right? Even though I'm not your supervisors there, but the thing that you guys are going to be work out with your final year project, hopefully I can actually manage to assist a little bit some things that can be developed, okay, in your kind of process of working. You guys understand what I mean there? All right.
Yeah.
Because I do remember directly that Miss Yashi has told me that the elements of what you're going to be works are going to be around maybe a poster kind of designs, right? Maybe a little bit kind of motion graphic, right? But I don't know whether we can actually cover it with this time or not, okay? But I can actually give some of suggestions if you need some suggestions of what are the tools that you're going to use there, because the treatment that I'm going to be work with your classes, basically your batch, basically, okay, for these semesters are going to be a little bit different, hopefully, than the junior kind of subjects, what we call that progressions there, okay, because normally digital illustrations were being introduced for the second semester year one kind of students, okay, from multimedias. So if I can share some of the link, or you guys already know my link there, okay, my YouTube link basically that I've done for my students there, for the student itself there, right? Okay, this is the one that you guys can see my screen sharing there, right? So this is basically the most of the video that I actually have been upload, okay, for the students, okay, during our sessions there. Of course, this kind of channel basically is, I would say, is quite boring. It's not actually like a normal kind of commercial kind of things there, because I record all the sessions during my lecturing and also practical class, and then I dump the whole thing, and I don't have time to edit the whole thing there, okay. But I just dump everything actually, okay, just to make some sort of revisions for the student, if the student interested on looking back and go through, maybe fast forward there, okay, or skip some of the things that I've been lecturing there, right, okay, or talking or whatever that I do there, okay, that's quite boring for the students. But the demonstrations that I actually did from the lessons basically were based from all the demonstrations there, and the demonstration that I've done there, right, okay. So as usual there, you guys know basically the way that I taught you guys before in dry media, right, that I always do some demonstrations there, right. So this is some of the things that that I actually have done with the students there. All right, okay. But I managed basically to work with the same what we call that batch, okay, for the last 2 semesters, which is the introduction to illustrations. I actually had to convert and improvise the methods of learning experience into digital kind of what we call that tools there. So from the beginning of the introduction to illustrations, okay, I already taught the students from the first semesters about how using the tablet itself. All right, the tablets here. I cannot actually move my new cameras and my old one that actually webcam basically have broke there. All right. So if you guys want to go through with some of the lessons that I've done, all right, just to add a bit more value on your understanding and knowledge, okay, you guys can go through all the lessons there, okay, because the methods that I actually have shared, all right, with the students basically were the one basically to help some of the student who doesn't have enough kind of what we call that skills to develop in traditional medias there, or your observation and your understanding right is, oh yeah, I've heard that. I don't know why basically our channels over here there, okay, our link over here for this Google Meet, okay, just like last semesters, that I actually have the same issues there, okay. I don't know how to manage that. I don't know how to, what we call that, arrange that, okay, because last 2 semesters basically there is no issues on the how much people actually can involve right here, okay, because I know that we have around 111 kind of students there, right. So that means hopefully I'm recording the sessions, I upload back again later on in my YouTube, you guys can go through back again. And that's the best way that I can do that, okay, because from the this one, right, Google Meet, right, okay, this is the Google Classrooms, right. All the students actually have been key in over here, hopefully they can actually write. I don't know how to manage them, right, because normally they are going to be automatically being added, right, okay, the number of students over here. Okay. So hopefully that maybe I'm going to talk to Mr. Taekwon maybe, or Mrs. Vivian there, okay, about how basically I can manage back again. All of you guys will be in the same kind of room, okay, for our lecture class, okay. Those are the things. All right. I'm sorry, but we cannot actually manage the whole thing, the whole class, okay. I think around 100 people only there, right? Yeah. Yun Xiang there, okay. Send Yun Xiang, okay. Yeah, Brian, okay. I don't know how to actually manage them, right? So hopefully you can actually rearrange them later on. All right, guys. All right, just continue back again. Okay, this is basically the thing that actually you guys can. Right, I'm not actually monetize this kind of what we call that. These channels yet, okay. But if you guys can subscribe them later on, you can actually update, okay. You guys can go to update, okay. So please help me subscribe. Basically, okay, you guys can actually update those channels there because subscribe is free there, right? So you guys can take a look some of the lessons that I actually have done. All right, there's a few number kind of subjects that actually have been added in these channels there. Okay, other than introduction to illustrations, digital illustrations, a bit kind of animation subjects, and also environment design a bit there, right? Okay. And some of the latest one basically I've done for other kind of what we call that organizations, basically is 3D kind of modeling there, right? So those are the things that actually have been shared right here, right? And of course, okay, if you actually expect those kind of this kind of what we call that channel basically are going to be quite entertaining, I don't know, okay, but it's not going to be quite entertaining, but it's going to be a very useful for the students to see how actually the things works directly on the digital kind of stuff there. All right, those are the things that I can actually share with you guys. Okay, you guys can subscribe them. Right, okay, you guys can work on that. Okay, and yes, okay, I want to go through basically today. If you guys have been go through with the criteria that we need basically for the lessons here, okay, and of course. From my subjects, usually we have a numerous kind of what we call the exercise, right? Okay. So for my classes, okay, I believe I actually handling 3 different classes, right? Okay. GD1, 2, and 3. Okay. And I want to basically check again. We don't have any group there, right, in WhatsApp, right? Do you guys want to? Do we sorry?
I think can. You mean you want to with all students or just class rep?
What do you think there, right? Because normally I'm using a different kind of group WhatsApp for a different kind of classes there. But if you want to add the whole, I think around 100 something.
I mean just group 1, 2, 3 for the practical, or just class share and then class share will spread the message to others. I think that's better.
Yeah, because I don't want to be a lot of traffic later on there, okay? But you guys have my number there, okay? All of you guys, right? So I think Cindy, okay, we just add, what we call that, we just create one group for class rep only, okay? So that you guys can actually write. Can you actually write a create for me, Cindy, there, okay?
Yes.
Because later on you can actually kick me out anytime you want there, right?
No lah.
Right. Yeah, okay, we make Cindy, right? Okay, Cindy, okay, can create one of the group on WhatsApp, right? Okay, okay, for our digital illustration classes for these semesters. All right, thank you, Cindy. There, okay. So you guys can get to know your class reps, whatever informations, whatever things that we actually, even though I can actually write, we can actually write, update everything in Google Classroom there, but in the normal kind of times, not actually working times, I always active in WhatsApp directly. So, and if any of you guys want to, you ask any questions regarding to your assignments, all right, please do WhatsApp me directly, because on WhatsApp also I can record and print screen and do on my administrations kind of works from there. Okay, ASAP there, right? Okay. Other than I have to open up Google Classroom on my phone sometime if I with my phone normally, right? Okay. If I'm not actually online or doing some of the works basically on my PC or desktop there, right? Okay. So I might going to be work more on my phone there, right? Okay. To check my emails there, to check some of the news, some of the things there, some updates there, right? Okay. Normally I'm doing some of the things a lot only in my PC, because doing some of the works or online sessions there. But most of the times, okay, we work in the with my phones directly. So hopefully you guys can actually DM me on the phones if you have any kind of questions regarding to your assignments. All right, okay. So hopefully it very going to be clear for you guys, okay, about the methods that we actually can go through. But of course, every single kind of my sessions, online session, I'm going to record them and I'm going to upload in my channels over here. All right, this channel basically is open channels there for public, but I create basically from my emails, okay, from these kind of emails, okay, for the students there, okay, especially for my students there. So that's why I didn't get a lot of subscribers there, okay, because maybe it's quite boring there, okay. But I want you guys to subscribe there because it's the best way for you guys to can update, basically can see some of the things there, because most of the lessons that I've done basically for introduction to illustrations using digital medias can be developed also for your skills. If you doesn't have any kind of exposures on using digital medias before it, because I believe you guys have the right using Photoshop before and also AI. Have you guys done any kind of works in AI and Photoshop before?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, good, right.
Yeah.
So that means there is no problem, Raki. So anyone who doesn't work with tablets using mouse?
Yeah, using mouse before.
Yeah, before. So right now, if we are going to work with tablets, do you have any kind of difficulties to get one?
For me, I already bought since last year, so no problem for me.
Anyone actually still want to use mouse, because we have to change. I have to do a little bit kind of different kind of methods there, okay? But of course, if you really want to proceed your kind of assignments and also your FYP, the most easiest and fastest way basically, and for you guys to work with your assignments later on, of course, you have to use a tablet there, okay? Because nowadays, if I use mouse, it's quite going to be slow also for me to do my works there. It's kind of impossible for me to manage my work well if I'm going to use mouse, all right? Other than, yeah, if you're going to work with some of the works like AI, like this one there, okay, this is one of the Behance kind of demonstrations that I did, okay, the characters they're using the simple kind of shapes, but this is basically from one of the lessons that I did, demonstration for other subjects there. Illustration subject, but not in our kind of what we call that organizations directly, not in our college directly, university to work there. But I don't know whether you guys have been working on with this kind of trend kind of style that I just try to experiment with them, okay, using this Behance kind of style there. Challenge there, right? But if you really want to work with mouse, basically it's going to be a little bit kind of limited kind of methods that works. So that means if I'm going to use pencil kind of tools, all right, to draw them, it's quite going to be limited for me to work with it. Okay, but it can be done there, right? It can be done there, right? I'm not saying it's kind of, okay, but it's quite hard. But if I'm going to use what we call that, tablets there, all right, okay, they're going to be easy for me to work. You guys can see that, right? If I want to design anything that I want there, right, okay, design a rock, for example, here, then I can actually use some of the tools like knife tools. Read up there, right? I can rearrange them. Then I can use those knife tools to cut this over. I can just change the colors there. Right, it's quite easy there, okay, to work. That's why nowadays, if you actually believe that you want to pursue yourself to become maybe in your creative kind of process or careers there in the futures, you need to get one of them there, okay. Any models that they're going to be fine there, okay, like Hui-On there, okay, like those kind of Hui-On kind of brand. I think it's quite convenient there, okay. Other than that XP pen there, right, okay. But as long as you can get the right kind of pressures that it works. One of the most important things that we have to remember, okay, when we want to work with tablets, basically, is we can get the right pressures there. All right, you guys can get the right pressures there, right? That works. Okay. I cannot actually send over my kind of camera. This one there, okay. I have bought a few number kind of webcam there, right, okay, because of this pandemic there, right? But try to get the most kind of convenient at the time there, right, okay. So one of the reasons why we use tablets, okay, some of you guys from Miss Vivian kind of classes, I believe that Miss Vivian's, okay, from what I actually have seen there, right, okay, she actually has show you guys some of the different kind of brushes that works. All right, if I'm using, okay, I have two different kind of versions there. I have the old versions of Photoshop and also the latest one there, okay. I believe the latest one, the 2019 there, right? Hopefully there, right? That's it. So one of the reason why we basically want to use tablet because of this one, okay, because we can get the right kind of pressures that works. Just like using pencils there, okay, the more that we actually press, right, and we can actually control basically the pressures there. That's basically one of the most important thing that why we have to convert ourselves from digital medias, from the traditional to digital medias there, right, okay, especially in illustrations. So from what I actually have shared, okay, from my kind of lessons before, my kind of what we call demonstrations, my kind of what we call that link that I actually have shared with you guys, okay, I've been actually been browsing a few number kind of trends that you guys can actually been working on with your illustration styles for these semesters and also your FYP kind of projects there. All right, there's a mixed up with the photos, graphic with illustrations here, just like the image manipulations kind of styles there, okay, that you guys can be experiments them with your exercise and your assignment at the same times. Okay, what basically I want to emphasize here is all about explorations there, guys. Okay, the things that I actually have been share with you guys, okay, in terms of our lessons and our brief and our assessments kind of rubric and sheets there, right? Okay, it's all about preparing the guideline for you guys, the structure for you guys there. Okay, those are the things that important for us to give you guys some sort of like rules and regulations, but it doesn't mean they only can be fixed up into that matter of samples that I actually give you guys. Remember that, okay? You guys basically are seniors there. I want to prepare you guys and also share with you guys and also believe that from the past 1.5 years that you guys have been developed there, okay, after our lessons in the beginning of the process of using the techniques and methods and tools and skills there, observations, connections, controlling the strokes there, right? Okay, and learning about those principle of drawings a little bit there, right? Okay, and from that path that you actually have been working on, I believe that you guys have prepared yourself a little bit more better than before there, okay? And I also believe that you guys can do more better than what I actually have given you guys here. All right. So this is some things that actually have been, hopefully you guys can read the brief back again. All right. Okay. Okay. From the first week, 18 January, okay, which is on Monday from Miss Vivian classes until 5th February there, okay, week 3. Okay, I actually have stated a few number kind of exercise there. All right, even though the marks is only 10%. All right, but that 10% can be used as a part of your make good if you're not doing really well in your assignments. That's basically how the way that I'm going to evaluate and also execute my kind of evaluation on your end for your marking systems. All right, as you guys actually have understand, creative kind of evaluations is quite subjective basically in terms of evaluating an individual kind of works there. All right, because each one of you guys have a different kind of set of skill that you guys can provide on your assignments or your exercise there, right? So that means if one of you guys who draw a manga there, right, okay, for examples there, for your exercise or your illustrations there, you want to show basically what actually you have been can actually done with the tools, all right, and applications. It doesn't mean that the one who actually draw like different kind of styles there, okay, cannot actually get the same kind of better marks from that guy or person who actually draw manga there, okay. But sometimes when people draw those anime manga kind of styles, they look a little bit kind of weird there, okay, in terms of proportions there. So still doesn't look right. Still doesn't look right there, right? Okay. So it cannot actually gain a very good marks from there. All right. So the samples that I give you guys basically is experiments of the brushes, using basically some reference to draw on top of it just to get used with the tools. It doesn't mean that when you trace those kind of tools, when you trace this kind of what we call that illustration or drawings or pictures there, okay, especially pictures there, okay, it doesn't mean that you cheat yourself from there. The thing that we call cheat, basically you copy basically from other people's works and put into yours. That's basically, we call it copy there, right? Okay? Or tracing there, right? But right now, okay, if you want to develop basically your skill from here, this one is basically for those who still doesn't have a lot of what we call that understanding there to develop your kind of skill in drawing and illustration there, okay? And hopefully this method will help you guys to gain more kind of understanding there. Because I'm also, okay, if I want to make my kind of works more, a little bit more faster there, okay, I'm going to do the same thing. Because when you work with your clients there, sometimes, most of the time there, okay, you didn't have time basically to sketch it out from scratch, okay? This is only techniques there, okay, but the most important thing that you have to remember there, okay, is how basically you develop your skills from here. All right, your skills from here. Right, for example, right here, okay, you have the samples over here, you have the reference here. All right, okay. The format that I'm going to use a bit kind of not accurate, okay? I just show some of the demonstrations over here. Because you guys have known how to use Photoshop, there, right? So what I'm going to do right now to test my kind of brushes normally, all right, I'm going to make it into grayscale first, reduce the opacities. Of course, you guys can actually redraw them, okay? You guys can draw them on top of it. You can draw from side over here, there, right? Okay, if you want to. Okay, some of people, okay, they say I want to use basically this kind of methods, okay, some tracings. So what you guys can do, you can actually go through back again basically with this kind of methods there. All right, drawing basically the structures there. And I also believe that if you guys have learned from other than me, all right, the lessons of drawings like Mr. Candy directly previously, so you guys also have done a few number kind of what we call that lessons from here, all right, on the drawing basically the right kind of proportions, all right, that works. So but this kind of what we call that methods, for those who have a package of skills there, all right, we're not going to be hard for you guys to develop that, but it will take quite sometimes that to work also there, right? So we're not basically tracing the whole thing there, okay, like this one, okay, I'm not trying to get as accurate as I want there, okay, but the thing that I want to work right now basically is how to manage the proportions well. All right, remember that, right? Okay, manage the proportions well there first. That's the most important things there before you're going to add a bit more and more details here there, right? And of course, when I look at some of the works that you guys been done from Miss Vivian, okay, I believe that some of you guys, hopefully most of you guys actually have developed more on your kind of skills there, okay, from time there, okay, in time there. Right, this basically one of the most important things there. We have to start with draw digital. Okay, when you work digitals, it doesn't mean that everything can be clicks and done everything for you guys, okay, perfectly. It's all the matters of how actually you're controlling basically the pressures and the structures and understanding the proportions, and the tools basically will make your work a bit more faster. All right, and you don't have to erase all the times. And of course, okay, for those who actually have a lot of difficulty basically to work with the traditional kind of styles there, okay, I would believe that I would say digital medias make your job a bit more better than the traditionals if you're knowing to do it in the right way there, right? Okay, for example, okay, I take quite some time that to draw this kind of structures there, right? Okay, but I managed to draw the basics kind of structures before I'm going to add some details there. But let me save the files there first. Where is it? All right. You see, okay, there's a lot of folders over here there. All right, a lot of folders there. So that means I'm doing the works there, right? So this is basically my demo. Okay, week 1. Right, demo for lecture class there, right? Okay, so now, okay, what brushes that I use? Sorry guys, okay, I always, okay. If you thought that, okay, the demonstration that I did is quite advanced, please let me know. All right, but I just want to show you guys first in our lecture class what are the things that we can do, and of course most of you guys have known that already. But okay, what I'm going to do, okay, if I'm using this kind of version, right, Photoshop 2018 or 19 there, okay, I remember here. Okay, get names, system info, right. All right, version 9.0 there, okay, 2017 there, okay, a bit old there, okay, but it's okay. Doesn't matter, okay, but I believe that most of the Photoshop nowadays, there's a lot of few number kind of good brushes that you guys can use. One of the brushes that I always use for these versions basically is Ultimate Pencil Heart. This is one of the brushes there, not the only brushes there, guys. Okay, these brushes, okay, if I want to manage, okay, to work with the tools there, because normally if you guys were actually a beginners there, okay, I'm going to ask you guys to test the brushes there first. What are the brushes can do there? Okay, one of the important kind of lessons that I believe that Miss Vivian actually have shown you guys is to test the brushes over here, right? And test basically understanding how to use basically this kind of brushes in the right way there, right? Okay, this is one of the good kind of exercise that I actually saw there, okay, that we actually have done also. I actually have done this kind of exercise when I was like in my kind of studies there, okay. Okay, my kind of lectures actually have done this kind of, okay, they create a few number kind of circles. It's very good kind of exercise there to get to know and to control basically the light and shadows, right? Okay, the directions, the values, the tone, okay, when you actually write, controlling at the same time the pressures that line there, okay. I change also the sizes, okay, the sizes there, okay, of the brushes, okay, when I actually work with it, okay. This is one of the way that I get to work there. Normally, we need to different what we call that charcoals. Remember the, okay, charcoals or pencils there, okay. We kind of actually try to sharpen the pencils there, right? Okay? Then we can actually manage to work with all this kind of tone, right, at the same time there, right? So those are the things that you guys can do there, okay, for your lessons there. But the thing also that you guys can work with your first kind of exercise here. Okay, if you take a look right now for this Cal Ultimate brushes there, right? Okay. You guys remember that, okay? I kind of like my kind of what we call that demonstrations a little bit kind of like sketches there, okay, like what we call that. I kind of using basically the methods, the tools like traditional medias there, Ultimate pencils there, right? Hot. All right. So the size I'm going to use basically around 8, 9, right? Okay, depending there, okay. And sometimes I've changed into 10 points there, okay. The size over here, yeah, all right. And I kind of using basically my kind of controlling the pressures there to study basically the tools, the brushes kind of pressures here. See, remember, okay, when you draw traditional medias there, okay, sometimes it's quite hard for you guys to manage to work with the strokes, right? But by using this kind of these digital media there, okay, it kind of like feel whatever that you guys been go through difficulty, right? It is quite changed. There's a number kind of change there, okay? Even though the colors there, okay, the color palettes over here, okay, the feel colors there. I'm using a bit kind of tones. If I want to change to blacks, you guys can use it, okay? But one of the most important thing that I find there, okay, from this kind of the Control Z basically, that helped me to develop here is the accuracy of using the tools there, right? I remember that Cindy, I think Brian actually have raised to me the difficulties before, okay, when you use these dry media techniques, right? They say that it's quite hard for them to manage to work and develop basically the skill from there, but it did quite slow, okay, kind of time there, okay, quite few number kind of hours there, okay, to develop basically that kind of skills there. But if you take a look here right now, when we have this kind of digital media there, okay, some of you guys will actually have difficulties to work, okay, with this kind of traditional kind of styles. I was hopefully that you guys can manage back again, okay. If you take a look at how actually I draw that, right, I'm not actually drawing entirely the outline there, right, but I'm drawing the strokes of it. See? And I improvise a little bit kind of the structures that I draw. Okay, that's what I said. Okay, this is not about tracings there, right? But drawing on top of it back again, but using your kind of understanding of controlling the volumes, the strokes, the tone, the values, all right, of the line when it comes to develop basically your kind of skills and test basically back again your kind of understanding by using the tools with the right kind of applications here, with the right kind of brushes over here. I'm not saying that you guys cannot use, okay, I'm sketching basically the line already. I make it a bit kind of quite quick there, okay, kind of sketch. Okay, and for your kind of what we call that reference over here right now as methods that you guys can actually explore for your FYP there, okay, this is one of the styles that you guys can actually produce for your illustrations here. Sketch line, and then you can add those tone and colors later on there, okay, if you want to. But you're using basically the skills that you have right here, right? I'm using some etching kind of lines on the shadows itself, right? Just to get the right kind of tones, right? To work with it, okay? Yeah, all right. A little bit kind of faster, it's a little bit more accurate, okay, if you have the reference there. If you don't use the reference, you want to draw some sketch line for your character design, we're going to go through back again later on, okay? For the assignments there, they're going to be a little bit different there. But if your main objective, our main objective here, if you want to test the brushes there, okay? The right kind of brushes that work, sorry, there. At the same time, we want to see whether the potential of what we can do using these tools, okay, from the beginning there, okay? This is basically the one of the methods that I always introduce the beginners there, okay? Not because It look like advanced that you guys can follow that you can't follow that. Okay, if you check look back again on the result itself, it will be more stunning, and also there has a little bit kind of directions there where you want to go if you want to develop using digital medias as a part of your tools applications in illustration. That if you use Procreate, for example, iPad Pro there, okay, if you have one there, okay, they still can be used the same methods there. The same kind of methods can be applied, okay, from this kind of understanding there, right? Try. This is basically one of the important kind of methods before you want to change or you decide. Basically, you want to develop your kind of skills in digital medias there. Okay, in digital medias there, right? If you want to use digital kind of applications for your illustrations, other than you actually working with some of the current trends later on, because the current trend that you guys can see there, okay, there's a lot of mixture with different kind of styles and techniques. We're talking about styles and techniques there. All right, okay, this one basically more like a traditional kind of drawing styles there, okay, sketch kind of line there, right? So if you take a look to different way, basically, okay, from here you can manage to simplify them and become the characters there for these subject matters that we use subject matters for work, okay, to do the works there, right? Okay, for example, like this one there, right? This is basically your subject matter of your research, okay? And you use this one to develop your kind of character design there, okay? Because you cannot design the characters out from nowhere there, okay? Most of the design that you create, basically, they has come with some of the reference there at the same time. That's why if you check, look, go through back again, okay, most of the important kind of notes that I actually have given you guys, we need to have some sort of reference there, okay? Okay, about this kind of rubrics there, okay? We go through the rubrics a little bit there, right? Okay, we have around every single kind of exercise each week. They have two different kind of artworks. All right, those are the things that have been stated, right? Okay, but what actually have Mrs. Vivian actually have given you guys, I believe the same thing. All right, but maybe the executions are going to be different with my classes there. All right, because I want you guys to have more exposures there, okay? If you guys can combine both of our methods together, it will be more better there, right? All right? That's basically one of the smartest way there, okay? Because I also do the same thing. And I learned from someone else there when I look at some of the demonstrations, even though I look at some of my colleague kind of demonstrations there, okay? I will say whether I can going to be combine them together or I'm going to improvise them to make it a little bit more like my own kind of way of working there, okay? That's basically what I've done, okay? When it comes to develop the process of working for myself. All right, I'm not actually trying to reject, but I try to mix them up or blend it together, or I can actually improvise them in my own way to make it more comfortable for me to work. Okay, so I believe we have 3 different exercises. Each exercise have 2 different artworks there. 2 different artworks there, right? Okay, so you guys can actually write, okay, for my classes normally what I actually have done for my demonstrations, you guys can follow them back, or you can improvise them. All right, improvise them. So each exercise, even though the carry weight is quite small for you guys, 5% only there, right? Okay, but we have to do a lot there, okay? Remember that, guys, the thing that you guys been working on with this exercise, normally I'm going to add it a little bit more if you're doing very well in your exercise. Suddenly, when you work with your assignments, there's a few number kind of situations. Sometimes you have done the best way that you can for your assignments, but there still doesn't look enough kind of efforts there to gain a little bit more marks from there, right? So I kind of going to use normally, okay? I'm going to take a look on your exercise back again, even the 10%, right, okay? The full marks on that. But if I think that I can mix up or combine that 10% with the assignment marks together to help to gain more kind of increment on those kind of what we call the marks, okay, I would do that. Okay, that makes that you guys don't have to do a lot of make good on the extra works from that assignments there. If we're running out of times, all right. If we're running out of time there, okay, I always have the contingency kind of plan there, okay. That just said, okay, some of the students doesn't have times, okay, but we can see the efforts from your kind of submissions there, okay. I can see your kind of commitment from there because you follow every criteria on your works, okay. And one of the most important things that when you have submit your works, please do submit also in your Google Classroom this form, okay. In week 3, when you have submit the work there, right, then submit together with this kind of form there, okay. One form only for each kind of what we call that assignments there, okay. So how are we going to work on that? For example, over here, okay, let's just say that, right, when you actually have submit the form, either you can actually write this is what you can do. Okay, you have the form over here. All right, you guys can use also the PDF kind of what we call that format that works there. Let's just say like this one here, right? Now, okay, let's just say this is your PDF form there, right? So what you can do, okay, just take the right, okay, simple take the right, okay. This is basically, we can actually fill it out later on. We want to make sure that you guys have been go through with your lessons there, okay, with your assignments there, what you guys can do, right? Just tick the right like that. Okay, 1, 2, and 3. I mean, you have done the works there, okay? Or you guys can actually write tick like this one there, okay? Simple there. I don't actually have the box, right? But you guys can do whatever you want. Okay? You guys can tick over here there, okay? At the same time, okay? Overlap there, okay? That means you have done the whole thing there. And of course, all exercise assignments there, right? Okay? You guys have done that, right? Okay? Simple as that. All right? As long as you guys can actually remark yourself there, right? Okay? You have done that. All right? The works over here. Or you can break it down like this. Then we know basically that, okay, you guys have actually been working on with both of your kind of exercise there, right? Okay? All your exercise together. Okay, remark there, okay? You have 2, 2, and 2 there, okay? Use your own creativity that works as long as you remark yourself there. Because normally, okay, when you submit the works, okay, because we actually have stated there, okay, 2 different kind of artworks in every exercise, and all exercise can be improvised based on tutorial, okay, blah, blah, blah. And also, you can actually have the reference in order to start the development there, okay, if you have some reference there. All right, okay? Let's just say for exercise 2, all right, you have some other reference there, okay, which is, this is your reference here. Where is it? All right, this is your reference, one of your reference there, right? So provide this reference together when you draw. Okay, those are the things that, and of course, okay, if you don't have any reference, for example, like one of the exercise that you guys can do to check the brushes, the line, the tools that are okay, what you want to do is okay to work. For example, like this one, F1 single kind of what we call that brushes that you have here, what we call that circles that you have here. And what you can do, you want to test the brushes there, right? Any kind of brushes, any kind of colors that you want to the, okay, one of the things that I can do to develop my kind of understanding over here using the soft brushes, right? Change the size. There, right? And I can actually learn to control basically my kind of what we call that pressures over here. All right. Okay, if the light came over here, I just want to test back again my kind of understanding, and I can actually controlling the pressures over here at the same time. So one of the things that I always use also to develop my kind of pressure kind of control, I'm going to change the flows there, not the opacity but flows there, right? Around 5%, 3%, 2% sometimes, right? Okay, I can actually well manage back again my kind of pressures line there. Okay, the highlights over here and the cast shadow are going to be fall off over here, and basically there's a reflections kind of light and also shadow at the same time there, right? Okay, so those are the things that I actually have done also to test basically my kind of understanding there, right? Okay, by using the digital medias over here there, right, to develop my kind of skills together and also my understanding at the same time there, right? I can use okay different kind of light colors over there, right? Okay, to develop basically my kind of understanding on lighting, right, at the same times. And of course, okay, from these layers that I use to work, all right, I can add another layers, all right, okay, below here there, right, okay, to create some sort of like shadows line there, right, okay, the form of cast shadows there, right. See, controlling back again, okay, because the light came over here, okay, of course the shadow will be fall off right here, okay. Using 5% of flows, I can manage to work with it and change basically the tone over here, there, okay, work with it, okay, to make sure that this kind of what we call the formations doesn't look a little bit kind of like off or floating from the platform there, right. One of the way there, right, okay, to just to test basically our understanding that you guys been working on before with traditional medias. Okay, it's time for you guys to work right now with the different kind of forms there, right, okay, different kind of what we call that medias over here, okay. And the other thing around that you guys can do at the same times, I can copy this one there, right, just like Miss Vivian kind of exercise there right now. So what I can do right here, the thing that we actually have troubles over here because we're the selections areas there, because there's a few kind of transparency that we've been working on there, right, okay. So what I can do right now, I don't want to make myself a little bit kind of difficult there, okay. I just create another kind of circles there, right, okay, another circles over here. I know it's not that quite accurate there, okay, but it's okay. So what I can do, I have the guideline there, okay, that I have done right here. So what I can do, I can mix up with different brushes. Okay, like just say these charcoal brushes there. Okay. Too hard to control. So once again, you can use flows there to adjust it, right. sometimes I'm using, okay, the what we call that charcoals there, okay, a little bit kind of what we call that. I will control a bit more on the pressures over here. All right. I will extremely adjust the flows, okay, until sometimes 1%, okay, just to make sure that I can control the whole things in the right way. Okay. I rarely basically use opacity, but you guys can experiment them if you want to, there, right? Okay. I'm not saying that you can't, okay. I just provide you guys some of the techniques here. You guys can control them back there, okay. If I close them, all right, this one there, right? You can see basically how far we can go from here. I can add another kind of light. Every kind of lights over here at the same times. It's a reflections kind of light and shadows there. And of course, for the shadows, there are layers here. So the thing is what we have right here, right now, right there, right, is if you check it, okay, because there's a transparency there, okay, I will show you guys how actually we're going to execute in different kind of way there. So what I can do in the shadows here, using the right kind of shadow brushes, I can actually manage to work, sorry, there, right, with all the selections, I can manage basically the shadow line there, right, okay. The cast shadow for this. For this exercise there, right? You see? So you can actually, right, develop a little bit more and more of your understanding first to controlling the strokes well, before we are going to go through with different kind of color, kind of code, styles, methods, technique at the same time there, right? Okay. And of course, from here, I would say that, yeah, if you can actually create another circle there, okay, one of the way to execute basically to make sure that you guys can get the right kind of, for example, there, okay, opacities, okay, solid kind of shapes there, okay, what you can do, okay, I just add new layers there, alternate backspace there, okay, alternate backspace, control to move around, all right, the arrow key, do some selections by select these areas there, and then I can use brushes back again. If I want to use the same kind of tone, same kind of brushes, and I can actually use the brushes over here, charcoal brushes there, okay, in 1% to control basically my zoom in a little bit. Okay, my kind of understanding there to treat some of the tone there, okay. It just basically, okay, the add some values on the tone colors over here. You guys can use also hue saturation if you want to. All right, I'm using the color kind of palettes there, right, to works. Sometimes I round around a bit there, right, okay, here, because right now one of the most important thing that I actually have done right here there, right, I try to manage to work with the light and shadows there, okay. The directions of light there, okay, they actually can be formed from this kind of experiments or understanding here, right, okay. So if I manage to work with 3% here, right, then I can actually manage a little bit more kind of pressures over here. Okay, one of the most important thing that you have to remember, okay, with this kind of exercise that I actually have created here is how to define basically the light and the shadow at the same time, because there will be more kind of important kind of roles later on if you want to illustrate your works there, unless if you work with what we call that a very flat kind of design like this, but they still have been developed also some of the methods. Okay, I haven't signed in there, okay, on working with the shadows and shapes there. Even though basically with this flat kind of design, if you take a look here, they're right, they still have been concerned about the shadows there and light and the shadow at the same time. Okay, if you take a look right now, this part basically a bit more darker than this one. Okay, that means the light came over here. Same goes to this part, right? Okay, but what happened to this one there, right? Why basically this one basically a little bit not darker than this one, right? Sometimes we can actually improvise them, right? Improvise them, okay, in a matter of the tonings method, okay? But obviously there doesn't make a lot of changes there, right? But this is the thing that you guys can actually develop when you actually start to work with your illustrations there, with your styles there, right? Okay. This semester is basically, it's not only about learning about the tools only, okay? How actually you're going to execute your own styles to develop your illustrations. What we call that skills here for your presentations, all right? So there are going to be a lot of interesting kind of experiment that you guys can do with them, okay? I'm not saying that we're going to start ourselves only doing this kind of things. Only there, right? Okay, but this is basically a basics foundations. If you really want to be good at what you're going to do in any kind of way that you want later on there, okay? Because I've seen a lot of people who actually try to manage to work with this kind of styles there, simplified there, okay, kind of style there, but they seems doesn't have enough kind of understanding here, how to play with the right kind of colors there, warm, cool, the strong, solid kind of tonings there, right? Okay? They can't basically develop basically the right kind of language of color kind of understanding there, right? Okay, in order to present your works there, right? So the mixed up with the colors that they've been playing around doesn't look quite blend together there, right? Okay, so a part of it, hopefully, I would say that I don't want to accuse anything there right now, but I want to put my trust on you to develop your own kind of way at the same times. Okay, don't basically get caught up, right? Okay, if I'm actually going to demonstrate a few number kind of styles, okay, for your works, okay, for our demonstrations, it doesn't mean that you have to need to follow exactly that kind of particular styles only there, right? Because if you take a look at some of my demonstrations that I did there, okay, my kind of sample that I did for example, like digital illustration for our second assignments there, right? All right, second, the first assignments there, okay, sorry there, okay, the caricature thing. This is one of the basics basically, okay, one not the basics, but the natural, the normal kind of way people do the caricatures there, okay, for the demonstrations there. But I do also have different kind of way that you guys can execute at the same times in terms of caricature kind of methods there. It doesn't have to be the whole thing look quite very outstanding kind of solid brush or shadings kind of methods there, okay. They can be a little bit more simplified there, okay, simplified than this one if you want to, because caricatures, it's all about capturing basically the unique kind of elements from the person itself that can be enhanced to make sure that people can still recognize that person, that personalities based from the design there, right? We design people's face in the different kind of versions, the unique kind of versions there, right? But of course, okay, this is some of the commercial kind of caricatures that I did basically for some of the clients, but this is one is for my demonstrations there, all right? But there's a lot of way you guys can explore from here. Not this is the only way that it works, okay? Our second assignment is all about a character design development that I believe also that going to be affected basically your kind of way of working for your FYP. But this is not the only design or character design style that you guys can explore there, okay? When you talk about character designs, this is also character design there, right? This is also a part of character design here. Okay? There's a lot of way to execute character design. This is also a part of character design there, right? It doesn't look, character design has to be look anime, manga, or any kind of westernized kind of character design. This is also part of character design there. So we're talking about, when we talk about illustrations there, this is a part of those character design there, right? That I also find quite interesting for you guys to explore in order to execute your final year projects there, right? Okay? I don't know what basically you guys may be working on, but the thing is the color combinations, the overall compositions, okay, how to arrange the element itself is a part of the challenge for you guys to work with it, to develop before you finalize your works. Right, as a seniors, okay, I don't have to basically, hopefully I just can remind you guys, but hopefully you guys have been aware that, okay, the whole compositions when you arrange your elements is very important. That either you're going to use it for your posters design, okay, this is maybe, I believe, a little bit kind of like modern kind of poster styles there, okay. In terms of your composition for any kind of illustration, for books illustration, editorial kind of illustrations, all right, okay? And also it's a part of the things that you guys can use also for your animations later on, for your motion graphics there, right, okay? They need to have a kind of importance kind of compositions or layout before you finalize them, all right? So anyone doesn't know about what is basically the layout is all about there, right, okay? This is basically arrangement only. This is not only a layout, right? Okay? This is also arrangements of layout and composition in illustrations there. This basically combination between illustrations and also some editorials or landing page kind of design together there, okay, with the typographies, okay, informations there, okay, at the same times there, okay. But this one is come with the illustrations compositions, okay, itself there, okay. A full compositions of those illustrations first before you're going to add into those layout for your editorials, for your name card or your call card or your landing page or any kind of title or posters at the same time there, right, okay. So whatever that you guys are going to do, you need to arrange your compositions in the right way, the color combinations there, okay, how to create some sort of focal point, okay, on your design at the same times. All right, which directions of flow that you're going to work with your illustrations there, the balance between the compositions, the element itself there, right, okay. All this kind of element and principle of design you can combine together with one single illustrations. All right, those sort of things will basically be count together other than you just submit your raw illustrations without any kind of understanding there, okay. So remember guys, okay, whatever that you guys are going to do basically here, it's a part of your kind of routine kind of exercise there, okay, in order to develop basically back again your understanding and your design sense as well. All right, and I believe you guys have developed your design senses there, okay, in the past, for the past few kind of semesters there. You bring all the things together back again with your assignments there, okay, with the subjects and also your FYP later on. So when you talk about character design, this is also about a character design, guys, okay. When you talk about caricatures there, okay, there's a lot of number kind of caricature style that you guys can. This is some of the one of the methods that you guys can be provide in order to develop your research. Okay, you do a few number kind of sketches there, all right, okay, and then some of the reference, visual reference there before you're going to develop your characters there. This is not a finished kind of works, but this is something that I give some demonstrations for the students, okay? From the students kind of design, I create some of the few number kind of thumbnail sketch or idea developments at the same time, okay, before you're going to finalize them. Okay, you guys can see basically some of the finalization on those design from here, okay? This is one of the demonstrations that I create, okay, for those lessons, all right? All right, guys. So make sure that you guys make a full use of understanding on developing, okay, within these classes that together. And if you really enjoy working with your skills, exploring basically your ideas, okay, I bet you guys can get very good kind of marks on the subjects there, okay? So I would say that I want to give most of you guys, hopefully most of you guys have a very good shine kind of marks there, okay? Hopefully nobody gets C or C plus from here, at least B plus and A there, okay? That's basically our target here right now. Okay, we cannot actually get everyone A there, okay? But if I can manage, or you guys can manage to work yourself to get B, B plus, and A for the subjects, it will be better there, okay, for your, especially for your CGPA at the same times. And actually, okay, there is a one time for me to give most of the what we call that batch get A there, okay. But basically, there's one time only, okay, that because most of the students basically have shined quite well on the assignments there. I can't actually do anything to get the students at least C there, okay, because the lowest kind of mark that I can give actually write B at the times. But the management actually told me to write some of the letters directly. Why actually write? I actually have to give them actually quite very good marks there. But one of the reason is because the student have done all the entire kind of exercise and assignments together in the right way, right? But of course, okay, nowadays basically there's some rubrics there, okay, that can manage to evaluate your marks there, okay? So I will give you guys also some of the criteria, okay, how much effort that you can get from A until you get F there, right, okay? Most of the students who get F or fail is they not basically complete the exercise and the assignment at the same times. Okay, they skip, okay? And some of the case that I get from the juniors there, okay, last 2 semesters there, they kind of doesn't actually submit the final assignments. Oh, I think it's quite rare there, okay, when the student doesn't submit the assignments there, okay? And of course, the exercise also doesn't look well there, okay? I don't know what they have been thinking there, okay, because like I said before, if you thought that, okay, multimedia is all about using the computers and tools in digital medias there, okay, it's not require skills set that you can develop from there, you're wrong there, okay? You guys knowing well there, right? So either multimedia or graphic design, the drawing skills is still important there in order to develop your kind of understanding, to develop your ideas at the first place, right? This is some of the sketches that I actually share. You guys can download it, right? It's kind of what we call that, some of the character design that I get from the reference here, okay? A few number kind of styles that you guys can actually see there, okay? I'm not actually what we call that hitting myself to work in one single kind of styles there. I always believe that you guys can explore a lot from here, from different kind of styles if you want to. All right. Am I actually missed out one of the assignments here? Yeah, okay. Hopefully not there, okay? I think I have another one there, right? Assignment 2.
I think assignment 3.
Assignment 3 there, right? I didn't actually upload over here, right? Is it? Okay. Okay, I'm going to check back. I'm going to put it back there, right? Assignment 3, basically. But later on, I'm going to copy the back, right? Okay, but I thought actually have been working on here. Okay, other than that, you have any questions there? You guys have any questions? Guys? You have any questions regarding to... All right, assignment 3 there, right? Okay, assignment 3 over here. All right, it's a Malaysian folktale illustrations there, okay? We rarely basically get this kind of ideas there, okay? When it comes to develop the FYP projects. That's why I would say that I want to give you guys some interest. But if you guys have, some of you guys actually have thinking about to create some elements, some of the designs for the Malaysian folk tales or Malaysian folk kind of lore kind of ideas there, okay? I would say you kind of very good kind of approach there, because I've seen some of the seniors have done a few number kind of corporate kind of character kind of design to rebrand back again Malacca kind of what we call that travel kind of what we call that agencies there, right? Okay, or they want to promote back again the Bandar Malacca there, right? So they kind of, this guy basically, I remember he create Sang Kancil kind of character back again. He rebrand back again, he designed back again. It's quite nice there, okay? And I would say it's very good kind of potentials there, but I don't know whether the ideas basically he bring back again to the Malacca kind of state of agencies or not, right? Okay, but of course there's a lot of things that happens, okay, in terms of you want to propose for these kind of organizations in the real time there, okay? But the ideas is very good, okay, because I kind of like that kind of ideas there, and I believe when we actually write give the marks from there, that guy basically get a very good kind of evaluation from us, right? Okay, because I told basically most of my colleagues these kind of ideas is quite good in order to execute, okay, the design itself there, okay, as a students. So from there basically I put it myself, okay, in one of the challenge for my students normally, okay, to have this kind of ideas for the assignments there, okay, especially for the illustration subjects, okay, and digital illustrations, okay, for specifically the, okay. So this kind of what we call that, if you take a look at the weightage of the marks there, okay, 40% I divide into two different kind of what we call that rubrics there, okay, segment there. Developments, ideas, reference and research is 20%, and another 20% is your final executions there. Even though we work with the one single illustrators there, okay, but we want to see basically how well you actually develop your ideas from here, okay, because there's a lot of reference that you guys can see, okay. If you choose basically one of the titles that like a cliche there, okay, Sang Kancil and Monyet kind of stories there, okay, you put into one single illustrations there, okay, you guys can see a lot of reference from other people's kind of styles and design there. But as a students, as a design students, if you kind of actually just copy from other people's design, you don't actually try to execute in your own way, creatively there, okay, they won't have a lot of difference between you as a new kind of graphic design students who have a lot of ideas that we believe from the old people like me, for me there, okay, for example there, okay, it's quite a shame if you cannot redevelop into your own kind of way, in your own kind of styles there. You challenge back again, right, okay, on your kind of styles there, okay, on to work with it. So this is a few kind of titles that I actually can share and you guys can choose, or if you seems to find other kind of titles that related to Malaysian folklore or tales there, okay, you guys can actually bring over and present it, and also develops into your own kind of projects there, okay, or your assignments there. So read back again, okay, about the criteria of working with it, okay. Okay, so even though I'm checking, okay, if you just look back, okay, we have 10 different scratches there, okay. There has to be work on that, okay, rough sketches that I made there, okay, before you are going to execute them. Do a little bit kind of research first, because all these kind of criteria that you're going to work, they will be divided into those kind of marks there. If you want to have a very close kind of marks on 20% to 40% there, okay, make sure that you guys follow basically our criteria on those marks there, okay, on those kind of evaluations there, on preparation, those kind of videos there, okay. And we have 2 different kind of video presentations there, okay. After you guys have complete I think the second assignments there, okay, you guys can actually write, you need to provide our first video presentation there. That basically are going to be what we call it, combined all together with your first exercise that you've done and your second assignments that together, okay. So you just have to explain a little bit basically what you guys have been developed, okay, from the first week until week 6 or 7 there, right, okay. Before we're going to well, this is one of the videos presentation basically for the final assignments only, sorry, okay. But we have 2 different kind of video presentations there, okay. The first one are going to be in the second assignments, I believe there, okay. If I make mistake, check back again those brief. And the last video presentations within these 3 minutes or less than that, okay, are going to be your final assignments kind of video presentations there, and you upload back again in our Google Classrooms, all right. And then we are going to evaluate from there. So that means you didn't have to do some live video presentation, because it's going to take a lot of time from there, okay. But I'm going to execute and evaluate a little bit and share some of the video presentations, okay, for your own reference there, okay. And before I'm going to get those marks from there. And our submissions deadline, okay, for final assignments are going to be in week 13. All right, week 13 there, guys, okay. 16 April there, right. Friday, 12 p.m. there, okay. 12 p.m. basically in noon, not 12 p.m. basically on earlier morning there, right, okay. Remember that. So don't mix up together there, okay. This is some of the demonstrations video that this is one of the executions that I create. Not for the, what we call that, some talented kind of people there that I believe that you guys can actually do more than that, okay? But this is one of the techniques that I create basically for those who have basically the hard time to design your own characters there. Like I said before, that I love to give a lot of options there for the students there, okay? It doesn't mean that you have to follow this one only. If you have your own ideas there, you guys can challenge back again, okay, the thing that you feel right for you guys to present it your kind of way, because you guys will see during the record, you guys will be prepared for the last few semesters, okay, to develop your styles there. So I want to see what you guys have been developed there, okay, that can be challenged, what we actually can provide for you guys at the same times. Because 100 kind of 10s, 11 kind of students in our class, okay, I would love to see 100 over kind of different styles that you guys can actually execute there, okay. But the methods that I show you guys here, basically have been recorded right here in my kind of demonstrations here, right, this one there, all right. Using photos combined with drawings that can mixed up together, right, okay. Mixed up together the whole thing there, okay, all this, right. So if you take a look, basically, okay, what time is it, okay? Yeah, I mixed up basically the reference together with different kind of brushes, all right. This one basically one of the techniques, okay, but it doesn't work if you actually have to develop a few number kind of stories based on pages there, okay. This is only work for one single illustrations, okay, one single illustrations, you'll be safe. because it's hard for you to find the pictures of mouse deer there, okay? Mouse deer is not a reindeer there, okay? It's very small kind of characters of animals there, right? Okay? It look like a mouse a little bit, small, and have a different kind of features than Bambi. It's not Bambi, you know, okay? Bambi from Disney kind of characters there, right? Bambi a little bit kind of like deer there, okay? Other than mouse deer there, right? So I'm using basically, I think charcoal brushes from here there, right? Okay? To work with this kind of styles there, and I mixed up with the colors there. Okay, I combine this kind of line. Okay, this is the things that I've shown basically the students the one of the alternative way if you want to develop basically a character based on the photos. Okay, but if you want to create basically your children's books illustrations in the futures there, okay, if you want to use the same methods, I would say it's quite difficult if you don't have enough reference there, okay? But you can execute the way of using the brushes, but the character design, you have to redevelop, you have to sketch it out a little bit more. You have to understand about your own kind of character structures before you're going to redesign them. Because when you talk about one single illustrations, you can be champion in what you want to do there, okay? But when you talk about you want to design comics, maybe, okay, a few number kind of panels there, all right? And also some book illustrations or animation at the same time there, okay? You need to have a proper kind of process of developing your characters there first. Don't take it quite easy there, okay? In order to develop the character design there, okay? Because it won't actually look a very good kind of way there, okay? It doesn't look easy there, okay? If you think that, okay, oh, design characters, okay, it's quite easy, okay? Draw one single style of sketch, okay, and you can actually finalize them, right? Okay, because there's a lot of things that you have to take care of, okay, before you're going to execute that kind of illustrations in a particular kind of what we call a poster, okay? Because you need to understand also the proportion itself, all right? The proportions of working with that kind of particular kind of design there, right? Okay? So if you don't prepare it well, it's going to be hard for you there, okay? I've done a few number kind of sketches, demonstrations on character design based on students kind of what we call that design that I actually redesign and recreate them back. I designed a few kind of robots there before there, okay, to give some sort of ideas for the student how actually I develop from basic structures into a certain kind of what we call that design as well there, right? Okay, my old kind of webcam, basically I can actually rotate basically the camera. That this one I don't know why I can't, right? Okay, I bought basically the same models, but I can use that, right? So this is basically one of the process that we do basically to design the characters at the same times, okay, that actually have been shared there, okay? Now you guys can go through with it, okay? Please subscribe those channels there. It doesn't make me a lot of monetization from there, okay? But at least the algorithm on those kind of what we call the YouTubes, okay? They keep actually give me some of the notifications, okay? To upgrade basically the channels there. But I won't actually say that this channel are going to be very quite modernized, because I have one other channel that I've been create there, but basically it's for my commercial kind of purpose. Okay, this one is not kind of commercials there, but can be modernized in the futures. I don't know. Okay, it's quite good. Okay, but at the moment I don't actually have the time basically to manage basically this kind of what we call that this channel properly to get a very good kind of editing kind of roles from there. But the things that I've been working on right now is the purpose to give some of the knowledge that I get from here, so you guys can see some of the things, all right, how I actually develop the characters there from here using the basic structure kind of sketch. Please guys, okay, please start with the basic structures there. Don't just doodle up your kind of ideas there, okay? So try to control basically your pressure and strokes first, and then try to understand the basics form of your element that you want to design before you actually going to work with your kind of finalization on your design at the same time there, right? Okay. So I give a few number kind of samples from there in order for you guys to see which one basically can suitable for you guys. We got around 14 weeks there, okay. What I did basically with the previous kind of students, subjects, okay, for last semesters, we have only 7 weeks there, okay, to execute them. But some of them basically were doing well from there. So I'm quite surprised there, okay, but because maybe they actually have been working on with me with the two semesters, okay, back to back there, okay. So we can manage a little bit more better from there for 7 weeks. You guys have around 14 weeks to develop that, right? Okay. And work also back and forth with your FYP projects, okay. So if you have any kind of what we call that ideas to discuss, okay, please let me know there, okay. Maybe we can actually execute from them. I think the one that actually going to manage for these semesters is FYP for multimedia there, okay. But for graphic design, I believe you guys have Mr. Reese, okay, with you there, right? So one of my good friend also. So yeah, maybe we can actually write, if you want to discuss with Mr. Reese and you want to add me also with your discussions, go ahead there, okay. Free of charge there, okay. No claim for me, it's okay there, okay. But I would love to help there, okay, if you have some ideas, right? But for your FYP, I want to remind you guys, do the things that you love. Don't do it because of us there, right? Okay? Love, but you can actually discard with it at the same times. Because some people thought, okay, I love to do this, but if we thought that basically your skills doesn't have the right kind of strength from there, you have to change. Right? Normally, right, you have to change, right? You have to change as soon as possible, right? That's why you have your supervisors with you, okay? But the way that I actually have managed my kind of group, okay, of students there, okay? For example, if the students want to do animations, I want to see what type of animations or content that they want to produce there, okay? One of the things there. And if they said, I want to animate, I want to make it 5 minutes of animation, I said to them, okay, I told them, okay, you won't be able to make it 5 minutes there. Why don't you actually plan yourself to make it in 1 minute of animations there, only there, okay? If you can manage to work with your animation in 1 minute, and you can actually add all this kind of importance, kind of understanding from the principle of design and animation at the same times, from that 1 minute in every single scene and shots there, right, okay, you will be fine there, okay. The marks will be given not because of the length of your works, but the quality of your executions there, the understanding that you provide, that you actually add from your visuals there, okay. Same goes to graphic design there, right, okay. When you design the posters, it doesn't mean that when you design, let's just say that, okay, some people that, and don't copy from other people's work, guys, please, okay, because I've seen some of the graphic design students before, I think multimedia there, okay, they're taking from other people's game kind of character design, okay, because why? Because they actually thought that they want to rebrand the titles of the games, but they're taking all the illustration from that original kind of companies there, and they make it into them directly. For me, directly, for us, basically, what are the difference from there? What are the unique way? What are the things that we can evaluate from there? If you're checking from other people's illustrations and you put it into your kind of presentations, and then you just add a few number kind of elements, small element from there, it doesn't make any kind of sense there, right? It's better to create a very cheap or broke kind of product or brand, and you redevelop back again into yours. All right. For example, what kind of brand basically is quite and not very popular directly, and the design also quite lousy directly. For example, there. So you make it into more better the kind of visual presentations. That's basically the things that really add value from there. Other than you create, for example, like nowadays there's a lot of good brand there, okay? For example, McDonald's there, okay? Then you recreate back again the same thing. It doesn't look any kind of difference. For what there, okay? But if you want to create a bit more better on the presentations of the corporate kind of look McDonald's there, okay? For example, there, okay? Make it more better, more cheerful, more fun there, okay? Especially, poster promotions there on Happy Meal, for example, there, right? There will be more difference, right? All right, but McDonald's, they have a very strong kind of corporate kind of look identity from there. So nothing much we can do from there unless they want to create another kind of themes, right? But if you take a look like, for example, like Mary Brown, for example, it's a Malaysian kind of product there, right? Mary Brown. So you're going to make it more better kind of executions on the corporate kind of looks, the poster kind of presentations, the menus directly, and the print ad or the press ad directly, or some of the themes for some of the annually kind of what we call that, monthly kind of what we call that promotions. You want to add more values from there. You want to create some of the styles of illustrations that can attract more people directly to have basically to go there, right? Okay, to spend basically the time from there and go, all right? Okay. In this kind of pandemic kind of, I would say, situations, designs will play a very good kind of roles there to attract people there, right? Okay. Other than some of the promotions there, right? Okay. Literally from those kind of what we call that, you buy one, free one or two, for example, there, right? Okay. Those kind of things that actually from the sales kind of point of view there, okay? But design also will play a very good role from there. And of course, okay, one of the most challenging part that you have right here as a design students nowadays, a layman also can do some design works. There's a lot of free kind of tools there, okay, that you guys can use. You can actually download. You guys can actually write. Working on that, okay, without having a lot of difficulties, all right, difficulties there, okay, like a lot of what we call that, I don't know where basically there, okay. So there's a lot of basically a lot of different kind of elements there, okay, or applications there that a layman also can be used, right, to develop basically the tools, okay, for designs. So what makes difference between you as a design students and a layman who can use all this kind of free kind of apps, okay, to develop their kind of promotions ad directly for their business. So that's quite challenging there, okay. And I believe also some of you guys going to thank you guys, okay, for subscribing there, okay. And the thing is right now there, okay, maybe some of you guys who are really smart enough there, okay, they might go, you guys might also will use basically some of the free kind of what we call that applications here. I don't know there, okay, but we're going to see from there, right? I'm not saying it's wrong, but if you're going to work, if you really smart enough to develop or execute that kind of way of working without getting caught is good, right? Because that's the way basically nowadays basically been worked, okay, people work, so okay, I'm also going to do the same thing there, okay, if I want to make my kind of press ad if I don't have enough time there. So I just subscribe and buy some of the ready-made kind of elements of designs. I use pen back again, but I redesign or improvise them. Okay, it's the smartest way nowadays there, okay? I'm not saying it's wrong there, okay? But whatever that you guys can use from there is different kind of stories there, okay? How we're going to execute them to make more difference there, right? So nowadays you see TikTok there, okay? There has a few number kind of elements of design that you can use there to work. So I think you guys also been into the TikTok there, right? So you can see some of the good kind of execution from those design there, okay, that we can be used. So you guys can use that kind of trend for your kind of executions in order to work with your FYP or your illustration at the same time. Okay. Nowadays, if you take a look at the trend there, okay, that have been shared, even though in Behance there, okay, if you take a look at Behance, there's a few number kind of what we call that elements that quite look similar there that you guys can use to work. So whatever that we're going to go through with our practical demonstrations, it can be improvised there, guys. But if you take a look at Behance nowadays, there's a few number kind of styles that you can choose as individuals there. Okay, either you want to use a very flat iconic design like this one a little bit more kind of advanced, but you guys can do it, of course. Okay, I would love to see, but I don't feel that we have enough time, okay, to cover the whole kind of styles there in one single semester. But you guys can actually work smart from there. Okay, try to work smart and at the same time work hard in the right way. All right, you guys can choose any kind of unique styles to produce your works there. I would spend a lot of my times to do some research first and try to find also research you just don't have to browse only without doing nothing there. When you do some research, but at the same time, you grab your tablets or your sketchbooks here, you start to sketch it out, right? Okay? Either you want to use AI kind of element styles like this one to execute with your illustrations, or you want to use a very kind of independent kind of comic styles there, or graphical kind of look styles from here, or you want to use very paint styles, more comic kind of looks like, right, like this one, right? Okay? Or like a children's book styles, illustrations, or some like a chibi character styles over here, like a very kawaii kind of look. All right, up to you guys there to experiment them. All right, to experiment them there. Okay, one of the way that you guys can test your kind of ideas, or this is a bit kind of like a very naive kind of what we call that illustration styles there. This one also I quite love to see there. Okay, this is like a combination between AI and Photoshop at the same times that we guys can actually execute, right? It's like a more infographics there, right? Quite nice there, okay? Quite nice there, okay? More simplified, stylized kind of looks there, right? This is some of the things that I love to interest to works there, okay? And of course, it's a poster design. You can see that, okay, an illustration poster design. Then mixed up together, right? Okay, the line, the combination, and the colors is really more like psychedelic kind of looks there, okay? I really open up with different kind of style that works there. Okay, for me, okay, if you can manage to develop a few number kind of way of styles of working there, okay, your life as a graphic designer will not going to be boring there, right? But this is more like a very simplified, iconic, graphical kind of line strokes, very dynamic kind of shapes, even though they're using a very quite structured kind of shapes there, okay, but they look a bit kind of dynamic there, okay. This is right, like more like a simplicity, right, kind of styles there, minimalist kind of looks, right? Using a very minimal kind of color combinations, yellows and red, combined with some of the different kind of tones and black together to make a very more graphical, solid kind of statement there, okay, on the presentations. right? This is more like picture book illustrations. They can be added in the digital medias there, okay? Styles there. The drawing kind of looks there, right? So this is something that I actually have been talking about with you guys there, okay? If you combine the drawing line and the paint styles later on, it can be executed there, right, in the right way. So this is more like a kawaii, chibi kind of characters there, like very iconic kind of styles there, right? It can be worked, okay? But if you look there right now, okay, the proportion of these designs will really been done well there, right? Okay, using the basic shapes there. So don't take for granted, okay, with your sketches there, okay, sketch in the right way there first before you're going to design your kind of characters there, right? There's a few number kind of GIF animated there, GIF animated kind of executions that I believe that you can actually work with your kind of this kind of styles there. It's quite going to be interesting, guys. Okay, this is a bit more like traditional medias there, I believe. By using Photoshop that it works. Pencil, collage, soft pastel. I believe this is the digital kind of media, I think, right? I don't know, right? But I think this one is a little bit more like a traditional pencil colors there. But nowadays, everything can be developed also in digitals there, guys. Right, even though using pencils, but using those brushes in Photoshop, you can actually execute the same way there, right? Okay, the same way. So they combine with collage together there. This one also can be used Photoshops, right? Okay, so it's a matter of what we call that, what kind of style that you want to produce. It's going to be interesting there, guys. Okay, let's just say you don't like to draw anime, conventional kind of styles that produce very perfect kind of line. You guys can execute these kind of things there with you. I don't know whether you guys have seen my Behance before there, right?
I think no.
Is it?
Yeah.
I think I have showed it, right? Never. I don't know, okay, but okay, this is my Behance there, okay? But this is some of the old works that I've done. Okay, so there's a few number kind of styles of illustrations basically I've done before. Okay, I didn't update a lot, okay, from here. So because some of the things that I've done basically is very PNC there, okay, at the moments there. Quite a number kind of years there, right? Okay, but this is some of the digital kind of executions of comics that I've done before. Okay, I mixed up with some of the original kind of what we call that textures there, okay, with the drawing itself. Okay, so some of the works that I've done basically have been influenced with some of the comic kind of American comic kind of artists there, okay. So this is some of the quickest kind of what we call that fastest kind of comic kind of what we call the projects that I did, okay, for some of the workshops, okay, for the participation that I actually managed before there, okay. So this is some of the Behance works. Okay, this is basically some of the children's books illustrations that I actually have. I think 2 or 3 different kind of titles there. So I'm using kind of different but similar kind of styles there, okay, on the works there, okay, using a lot of the whole thing using Photoshop there, okay, and combine with some of the paper textures at the same time there. So this is some of the AI kind of works that I create using Adobe Illustrators. Okay, so I'm using AI basically normally if I want to create a huge number kind of wallpapers, okay, for the clients, right? Okay, they're going to print it out on the huge scales there, okay, like more than 10 feet times 80 kind of feet there, okay, that I actually have created for the clients before there, okay. So I'm using that kind of tools there, okay, like AI kind of tools that you work with it. So this is some of the designs that I create for at Cyberjaya, okay, MDEC there, okay. but this is the wall that I create. Okay, they have this kind of huge kind of number kind of walls there. So I'm using AI is one of the best way, I believe, for me to work there, okay, with this kind of executions, and also the design basically for the children's hospitals like this one, like for IJN. If you guys have go IJN there, okay, I believe they has this kind of wall there. They print on the acrylic kind of what we call that surface there, okay, to work with it. And some of the comics before that I created, okay. This one a little bit like I work with one of the writers there, one of the authors there for this kind of stories. So I'm using purely everything in digitals there format that it works. I would, but I didn't actually post basically the sketches there. Okay, the sketches also I create everything in digitals there, right? So I'm using a lot of brushes there to experiment with the brushes at the same time. So this kind of what we call that comic that I created, okay, I spend a lot of time there from there, okay. So I experiment with different kind of brushes there. I use a lot of reference at the same time, okay. Most of the reference that I create for this character is based from myself there. I shoot back again my photos and I redraw that back again, and I execute in this kind of way, in a very mixed media kind of what we call that drawings there, okay, or brushes kind of tool. And this is one of the story that I create for myself there, okay, for one of the publishers there. They had been published twice for this kind of particular kind of projects there, okay. So one single titles, but two publishers have been commissioned me on that, okay. But this is one of the things that I create back in the day, okay, around, I think around 2003, 2004 there, okay. So one of the experiment of the comics, graphic novel kind of comic styles that I create. And I create a few number kind of mixed media kind of elements that I'm using AI combined with Photoshop together there, right? And some of the 3D elements there that I actually use and we draw and mixed up together, right, in Photoshop. Okay, if you want to execute between photos and also drawings, you have to find some other. That's why I say, okay, there's a lot of things that you guys can execute nowadays there. There's a lot of reference that you guys can use there, okay, to develop there, okay. So you have to be work smart and work hard on that, okay. Enjoy yourself to work with it, and then you can actually find your own path there, okay. So there's a lot of possibility there, okay. There's nothing that impossible for you guys to work there, okay. What I think you find quite impossible, if you think you're not confident enough, you can talk to us directly. And we can find some of the solutions, hopefully, for you guys that works. Okay. So this is the thing that basically I combine my sketches line drawings and also digitals there. Okay. At the time, basically, I don't have my own cameras. I kind of actually drawing myself from the mirrors there, okay, and I scan back again and color them back and mix them up together with some of the composition at the same times. All right, so I'm using myself as a model a lot there, right, okay, because I think there's a lot of easiest kind of access for me there, okay? And of course this kind of stories is quite personal for me at the time. So whatever that I have think in myself to execute the ideas there, okay, I put it into those stories there, right? So quite enjoy at the same time. It's quite pain for me that it works there, okay? At the time, okay, but I enjoying basically some experiment that I've done right here, because there's because one of the things that the good thing about this project, because I've been paid. Because before that, basically I do the whole thing in terms of my experiment and to develop basically my portfolios there. But right now, but at the time, okay, this time there, I've been paid for doing the thing that I love at the time there, okay. But it takes quite a while that I get to complete them. So the publisher, the editor, basically have chased me from week to week there, okay, to complete this kind of works there. All right, but I'm not saying it's quite easy, basically, okay, to compile, to combine, to develop all these kind of ideas together. I'm not saying it's quite easy there, right? But if you really enjoy to work with it, it will give you guys a lot of satisfactions by the end of the day there, okay? Other than you create your own portfolios, you get paid for it, or for your kind of case, you have your FYP there, right? And you basically have the license to give whatever that you can to develop your kind of skill, to show your skill from here. Other than you have the titles from that you can be worked on, right? Because if you have the titles or the objective of your works, the execution is all about your experimentations there. What basically you believe you want to show people based on your own kind of understanding when you have developed your own design sense. For me, okay, this kind of executions, other than those children's kind of work that I've done there, okay, is different. I have two different kind of objectives there. This one, the main objective, I know basically the stories of this kind of stories or this kind of comics is all about whatever that I have struggled in my mind there that I want to give into those visuals there, right? So what I can do, I want to put myself in the positions there if I'm going to become these main characters there, okay, who actually have that kind of struggles there between the realities and the whatever that he has in mind that get to achieve his own kind of satisfactions in life there, okay, and also build up the career at the time there, okay. So I put it into those stories there. Some people doesn't understand the stories there, okay, because they say, what are the hell are this guy going to tell about, okay? But if you read back again all the three issues basically, you might find the answers, okay, what I'm talking about there, okay. It's all about the struggling about the creators itself as a to develop the creative process of it there, okay. So you will find basically again this kind of answers from there. So this is something that I enjoy myself, the Racketeer works, and I kind of love to use. Okay, this is one of the X-ray kind of what call that X-ray kind of results that I can get from my MRI CT scan kind of results that I get back in the days that I'm using as part of my layout compositions there for this comics there, okay. But lately, the latest there, okay, when I do it in the second published there, okay, because the first published I don't have those pages because they have compiled with different kind of works from other artists there for that kind of comic magazine kind of format. So the second versions, I have the privilege to redevelop some of the titles, some of the page covers there, and I add a little bit kind of pages, okay, to make myself a bit more eligible to claim more kind of what we call that, make my claim more from there, okay. So that's why I recreate back again those pages there. They were just kind of some of the pages from there. So I kind of love that kind of experimentations. But if you take a look at, okay, most of the work that I've created here, there's a few number kind of what we call that executions. A few number kind of ideas and styles that have been created for a few number kind of years there. So this is some of the acrylic paintings that I create and traditional medias there. All right, using acrylics, drawings. Okay, I kind of love to show a lot of struggling, okay, on the life there, okay, when it comes to the works there, okay, at the times. Because it gave me more kind of freedom for me to express in my kind of visual kind of understanding here. So this is some of my old kind of paintings that I create, okay, in terms of using the elements of unknown kind of monsters there, right, okay, aliens there, okay, on my works there. Right, this is some of the digital collage that I create, using the pictures, photos, some of the line drawings, okay, drawing back again the hands and put some of the elements of line and strokes together there, okay. This is based on the same theme that I create for 3 different kind of clients there, because they want to have that kind of what we call that wall design for their buildings there, right. It's Cyberjaya there, okay, Cyberjaya. But this is some of the paintings that I create that actually following back again those kind of ideas of monsters there at the time. So more children's books illustrations. If you see there, okay, I'm kind of love to experiment different kind of characters there. Okay, to work with it. Okay, so I kind of like actually I give myself a little bit kind of more options there for me to work, because all the options that I create will basically will give me more freedom for me to choose. Okay, if I want to execute more fastest, I'm going to do the styles there based on the objective of the titles there, right? So it gives me more kind of privilege of time and also way to handle with the clients there, okay? Because unless if the client requests for me to do some of the style that they thought that's quite suitable for them, but I kind of always going to give some of the suggestions there. Okay, this is some of the character design that I create for one of the casual kind of games, but it doesn't work well there. Okay, but I've been paid, it's good. Okay, but the design, the gameplay that we create, basically it doesn't have the kind of impact for the commercial kind of looks there. Okay, because I'm not controlling basically those kind of ideas there, those kind of projects there. Right? So this is some of the key kind of what we call that art and also character design that we developed for one of the animated series there back in the days. I'm using the LT Gray kind of styles there, like a wayang kulit kind of character styles there, okay? Combined with this kind of style of shapes there, okay, for my works there. Okay, for the animations kind of looks. So hopefully you guys can actually learn something from here in terms of introductions to digital illustration for our first week illustration classes, digital illustration classes, okay, to see more options that we can take from here. All right, more options that we can take from here there, right? We take a look, right? Okay, most of the works that I've done, basically they have a few number kind of way of working. All right, so guys, all right, okay, so thank you very much, okay, for having me today, and I'm glad to see you guys again, and sorry if I take too long, okay, to discuss and also to share with your lessons today. So I see group 1, right? It is 2 o'clock, and have a good lunch, have a good day, and hopefully you gain something from here, and whatever that you guys can do, okay, remember that, okay, develop back again, okay, in terms of your own way, but we are going to give you guys some example and also demonstrations to execute your assignment at the same time. All right, guys, thank you very much. Have a nice day, and good luck with your assignment and also FYP projects. And thank you very much, and goodbye. See you guys. Okay, bye.
Thank you, sir.